Welcome to Main Street Minds with your host, Amish Munshi. This is where industry leaders and seasoned pros share their secrets to success beyond limits. Let's dive in.
Hi, this is Main Street Minds. This is Amish Munshi. Today we have a very special guest, Seena Ganesh. She is going to share her very exciting personal journey of how she succeeded in reaching where she is. And there is some very cool secret little tips that we are going to be learning about. So thanks for joining. Thanks, Seena, for coming on a busy Saturday morning while you are traveling. That's the spirit, right? Like we have to make things happen sometimes, and just being able to do what needs to be done is a sign of a professional. Thank you. So I'll open without any delay. I'll open up the floor. Seena, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, definitely. And thank you, Amish, for having me here. My journey started as a technology programmer, basically. Like I did my computer science and engineering, and that was the best career path at that point to get a good job and financially stable. And that's the reason I took it. And then I became very passionate about programming, and I did a lot of coding for embedded systems and whatnot. Very interesting story. Like I did in my first job, I coded in embedded software for GE MR scanners. And then recently I had a knee problem because I fell from my skiing trip, and then I had to take an MRI, and they were taking an MRI, and I saw this GE machine, and I was like, wow, this is the machine I coded for, which was very, very exciting. That was like many years back to now. And so that's how I started. I was very passionate about technology, math, and I never wanted to become a doctor or anything of that sort. So and then I traveled to US during that first job with GE, and then what was in Wisconsin, and then came to California, and then built my career around retail industry. E-commerce was thriving at that point, the dot-com boom, whatnot, and worked for many retail e-commerce companies like eBay, PayPal, and gaming industry for electronic arts, Walmart, Visa. So a lot of companies I work for. And right now I head up the e-commerce engineering division at Staples, and I'm in Boston. Originally, I'm from California.
Great. Sounds great. So does your work now require a lot of travel?
Absolutely. So this job, it was a very transformational leadership opportunity. I wasn't really thinking about quitting or moving to a new job, but when this opportunity came, and after talking to all the leadership at Staples, I felt like this is a great opportunity. This is an opportunity to push my boundaries, get out of my comfort zone, and I always wanted that. Every time after 2, 3 years, I want to get that kick in my career progression, and that's how I took up this job, even though it is a lot of travel. One thing that was okay with this job was like my daughter goes to college in Boston, so I was like, okay, I can be close to her as well. So that's how I took up the job. So I travel a lot. Like I come to Boston, be here with the team, and then go back to California and some other areas as well where I need to go.
Cool. Yeah, my nephew is studying in Boston right now, so he's almost finishing up his college life over there now. So yeah, I used to work at UMass for a year about. So
Yeah,
yeah,
very close.
pretty.
UMass is very close to my place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, Boston is a very special place. Especially like I think if we compare like California and Boston, like a lot of no, I wouldn't say still majority of the innovations are still happening here. Majority of I would say conversion of the innovation into actual implementation, I think still happens in these two places. So it's the technology hubs for most of US. Uh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. And are you currently still on the e-commerce platform for Staples or like more on the retail side?
I am I'm responsible for everything e-commerce, like
Okay.
B2B, everything, front end, back end, platform, technology, all that.
Oh, sweet. Nice. So yeah, that is amazing. And I know Staples is doing pretty good right now. It's one of the a few that is been able to survive the crazy economic conditions with the changes going on in the whole world with and I think e-commerce is probably driving that and driving that success for them. So going back, I know you did mention like how did you decide to like make that career change, like going from embedded into little more on the, I would say, on the functional aspects? How did the opportunity present to you, or did you make a conscious decision of making that career change?
I think in my case, the opportunity presented itself
Hmm.
because it was that young, when I was very young, and the e-commerce was booming like crazy, and
Yeah.
I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. So everything was e-commerce, the .com. So that's how it started. And then I was like, it looks like it's a great area, and I wanted to learn something new. And I'm always about learning something new. So I went to eBay, and that's where I think a real step up in my career started. And I started enjoying it. And retail and e-commerce is so different because every day the customer needs changes, and you have to
Yeah.
adapt towards that. And it's like that was so inspiring to me. Every day you go, there is a problem, or there is a solution that we need to find, or there is a hacker attack, then you need to be getting in front of
Yeah.
it. So that was a real kick for me, and I just decided to stay. And in between, I tried other career paths. Like I went to Electronic Arts, and I
Hmm.
managed the gaming, online gaming platform, the platform
Hmm.
where you connect to the teams to
Yeah.
put them into a game and whatnot. And I didn't quite enjoy that. I was not passionate about the product. So I think one learning throughout my career is like for you to really get out of your comfort zone and make it part of your life, like getting
Hmm.
uncomfortable to be part of your life. You got to be passionate about the product. You need to really like have that when you get up in the morning. I'm like, I have these three problems my customer is facing, and I need to go solve it.
Hmm.
Today,
Yeah.
today, my kick is AI. I mean, everybody is talking about AI, but I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to break this down. Like, how can it help me solve my customer problem, right?
Yeah.
So I think technology is such a vibrant area that every phase there is something new. And then
Yeah.
people who are like willing to learn, it's the best place to be in.
Yeah, yeah. And I think especially on the e-commerce side, like it's just amazing. It feels like I think there is a lot more than just the technology piece to it, right? There is so much to e-commerce. Like you got to have the understanding of marketing, sales, finance. Should you offer what is it called? Payment plans? Like is that beneficial to the company? Is it not It's just crazy. It's like we say e-commerce is like a branch of the business, but that sometimes that is the whole business. Like we integrate all aspects of business into one phrase, right? So yeah. And overall, like what are some of the tools and technologies that are needed to succeed? Like, are you seeing similar sets of tools across companies, or do you see like some specialized tools in like is it easy? Can somebody make a career in e-commerce with the set of skill sets, or is it like separate for each company?
I don't think that it's very separate from for each
Hmm.
company because there is always an industry standard about how to build a highly scalable performance,
Hmm.
highly performing e-commerce technology stack. And that's
Hmm.
kind of uniform, kind of standard across the board.
Yeah.
Some companies start with a very old technology and they don't move forward. They won't upgrade to themselves, and then they'll get in trouble because then it's not scalable, and then it's a lot of money that you need to put in to revamp all those things. But if the leadership is looking for, okay, what is changing, how is the trend changing, how can we get ahead of it and keep changing and upgrading the technology, it is pretty much, you can say that there is a standard set of skill sets that you can use to basically thrive in the e-commerce. For example, when it comes to front end, like React is one of the major highly scalable platforms.
Hmm.
And to come back to back end, there's so many options, but most of the companies still stick with Java, which is pretty good. So, and the database like cloud, NoSQL database, those kind of things. So it depends on what kind of problems you're trying to solve. And for e-commerce stack, it's like very standard open source technologies that you can.
Hmm.
But there are other areas like supply chain and other things where you need to use
Yeah.
an already built platform like warehouse management, supply chain management systems, which is kind of more of a configuration than you are like
Hmm.
building and scaling all on your own. My area where it is e-commerce,
Hmm.
primarily on the e-commerce side, it's about using standard technology, but scale for what business needs are. So we
Yeah.
always look into headless commerce. Like, how do you scale your backend for whatever channel the customers can come in? That's a new challenge, right? Like customers
Hmm.
they want products now at the best price, and I want it
Yeah.
at my door. I don't
Yeah.
care whether I'm using mobile, online, AR, VR. I don't care. I want that item, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it could be conversational AI, right? Whatever it is. So we have to build our systems in a way that customers can come through any channel. And
Yeah.
still you should be able to plug and play and go for it. So
Yeah.
that's very interesting paradigm that's happening right now.
Yeah, and like I always keep thinking, I still don't understand how Amazon succeeded in doing what it does. It's the last leg of delivery is has always been like very challenging. I'm talking about, let's say, 30 years back. I had a friend of mine who used to run a store, like just an individual store, and he used to be like within the last 5 years, like so 35 years ago to 30 years ago, the margins went from like 25% to like 5%. And while there is existing Walmart, Staples, eBay, I have no idea how Amazon managed to succeed in such a competitive environment. And it's not easy, but at the same time there is always somebody else that's coming and knocking on the door, right? Like they make like some business improvements. It could be Temu, it could be Shine, it could be something else. And there is always it's a very competitive environment. But when something works, it's just amazing, right? The success.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is like in the logistics, like last mile delivery logistics, right? You can't win it all by yourself. You can't do all of that.
Yeah.
Main thing is about partnership. Like what is the right partners you can use? For
Hmm.
example, shipping, DoorDash, what Uber Eats. A lot of companies are started with the food delivery, now in logistics. So it's
Yeah.
a lot of about like how do we partner with the great partners like that, not only within the US, like internationally. Think about it, like shipping a product to a rural area, how difficult that is, right? And without having a local partner, you can't succeed. So
Yeah.
and that's one thing that about e-commerce and supply chain is like you have to build your system, keeping those partners who can come anytime. Business would say, hey, you know what? There's a new innovation happening in this market. Integrate it. I want to ship it to that specific area.
Yeah.
And then if you haven't built your system thinking that in mind, you can't make it. So that's
Yeah.
a very important thing to
Yeah.
every engineer to keep in mind.
Yeah, so the architecture is really important, right? It should be flexible while still being scalable. It's not an easy task.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. So, if overall, like, what would be some of your recommendations for somebody getting started in the e-commerce space? Like, how should they approach it? Uh, should they be? Do you see like people continuing on the technical track, or do they need the functional skills? How does somebody getting started in their career or making planning to make a change into e-commerce? What should be their mindset and what should be their skill set?
So I would say that your career path is a journey, right?
Hmm.
For example, I started as a programmer and then I built my career in technology as a
Hmm.
technology. And at some point, I was like, there is more to learn. I need to know more about the customer, like what customer needs are, what are their frustrations. So I want to go and work in product. And I led a product team at Visa for 6 years,
Hmm.
Then after that, I'm like, where are my strengths? I can be a product leader, I can be an engineering leader. Where are my strengths? And I figured that my strengths are in building. I'm a builder, right? So I decided to stick with technology. So for somebody who is starting, I would say like go explore whatever comes in your mind. Like you want to work in engineering, and have a stretch goal to test out product or business
Hmm.
analytics or data, right?
Hmm.
Work with those leaders in your own company and say, hey, I want to take a stretch assignment in this area because I want to
Hmm.
explore. And after that, you make a conscious decision where you're good at because everybody is not good at everything.
Hmm.
Then you know your sweet spot and you start building it. And then over a period of time, if you really feel engaged and you're passionate, I would say stick with that where your strengths are and then
Hmm.
start shining that point. And that's kind of my experience, because I have taken risk like crazy, wanting to learn new things and wanting to explore my skill set. And I learned a lot. Like, oh my God, when I was at Visa, one of the biggest thing that I wanted to improve is my communication, my confidence, my executive, the way of presenting. And I would be in front of innovation discussions and all that, where it's like, people who has to make a decision, and I
Mm-hmm.
pitch for them. And it used to be a very anxious moments. And then doing that practice, I think I learned a lot in terms of how to read the room and how do you present your ideas in a way that others
Mm-hmm.
get it in a very limited time, right? So I would say that get out of your comfort zone. If you're a youngster, get out of your comfort zone. There's nothing much to lose, right? You can take risks. It's okay
Yeah.
to fail. You have time to pick up. When you're like late in your career, taking risk is a little difficult because you need to
Yeah.
be stable, and then you can take risk, right? So
Yeah.
this is the advice I give it to my daughters. I have two daughters, and I always say, like, you think about where you want to be at my age, and then you work backwards, and then
Yeah.
take risk, like get out of your comfort zone, like be comfortable to get out of your comfort zone. That's kind of what I advise.
Yeah. Yeah, that is very important. How does somebody balance in terms of just kind of being learning something new and then kind of contributing back to an organization? Because initially, kind of indirectly, the organization is pouring more resources into the individual when they are early on in a specific track, right? And then there will always be a time when it will feel like, oh, I'm just doing the same repetitive things for too long, and I'm not getting as much back. What's the right way to balance that? Like, when should somebody think of making a change, or like, how do you balance that? And what's the recommendation you can give to someone?
I think initial career level, there is a lot of options to move, right? When you're a junior engineer,
Yeah.
you say, hey, I have learned enough of database. I want to do a front end stack. And you can go and learn on yourself,
Yeah.
participate. There's no problem, right? When you get to that management layer, you have to make a role for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? You got to say, hey, here's an innovation idea. Like, is there a return on this? You work with your business partner, you work with your product, and say, hey, there is value in building this in this way. And I can
Mm-hmm.
do this, right? It's more of like putting yourself out there, showing an idea, work
Mm-hmm.
collaboratively with the others, let others see there is idea. And then you, suddenly a new team will pop up. And then you have a role there, right? That's how
Yeah.
it happens when as you grow in your career. But initially, I think you should, if you're an engineer just starting and you're learning, like say for example, you learn database systems and you're like, okay, I want to become a full stack, then I would say go and talk to the leadership, like leaders
Mm-hmm.
in that area, and say what you want. And most of the companies, they will support you. Like if
Mm-hmm.
anybody comes to me and say, hey, I want to learn this and this is what I want to, I'll do whatever possible to help them,
Yeah.
right? So put yourself out there and take any opportunity to be visible and show what you have, because nobody is going to come and poke you and find out what's in you, right? Like you have to be there and show
Yeah.
all that. One example I would say is like now, there's a lot of things coming around AI, and some of the engineers in my team would come and say, hey, I have a great idea. Can I show it to you? I'm like, yes, you can show it to me. Also work with the product to understand what's the business value, like how much it's
Mm-hmm.
going to help us in revenue. And if there is value, we just go and build it. I make
Yeah.
room. So not every company has that culture, but I think it's a responsibility of the top leadership to build that culture for the young generation to thrive.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's where like the balancing the size of organization you work with, like the smaller company, you will be asked to do everything. Maybe if you want to do database, maybe you will be asked to do like, can you just help out with the full stack development? Versus if you're once you go into a larger organization, you might want to do more, but they'll be like, there is a lot to do within the database. Let's plan this out in the right way. So I think balancing the size of the company, the size of the team within the company. Like it's not uh, just the size of the company, right? If the team, if the team is doing something new and innovative, there may not be enough resources being provided. But whereas if you're doing something core to the company's function existence, there will be like a lot more resources being provided. So you'll have to like balance out all of that together and like manage it in
I mean, I always tell my managers and my leadership that it's your responsibility to ask what is possible,
yeah,
what it will cost. It's my responsibility to look into it and see we can do it or not. So don't
yeah,
stop asking.
yeah,
That kind of culture, if you build, it's a game changer. And it's okay, sometimes I'm like, okay, this is not something we should be focusing on right now. That's okay. And then you're like, okay, I understand. Okay, let me see the next revision of it, right?
hmm,
So that's, I think, the best way to move forward.
makes sense. Yeah, sounds good. So very like I'm going back maybe like 10 years 15 years ago, there was always a distinction between a leadership track in or leadership or management track and a technical track, right? Are you still seeing the same things? Like is there still a separation of these, or do you think it's merging and getting closer?
It's merging, I would say, because
Yeah.
I think for engineering, the way the how the technology is progressing, you need technology leaders who are visionary.
Mm-hmm.
See 5 years down the lane what's going to happen and build it that way.
Yeah.
So it is not about people management anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You got to show them the path. You got to inspire them towards that vision. That's when you become a strong leader and people start rallying behind you.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like you're making resources available, you get it done, but did you do it very well, right? Next
Yeah.
iteration come, you have to come and redo everything. For example, I sit in architecture review meetings every week with my architects. And
Yeah.
not just like throwing ideas there. I'm listening to the design process and making sure they are in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I do a 3 year to 5 year roadmap on the technology. 5 year is a little blurry, I should say, but at
Yeah.
least a multi-year roadmap and say, hey, here is how the technology is transformation, the way I see it, and this is how we should be prepared to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
So that is so inspiring to the team. Then
Yeah.
everybody will start thinking about it and start correcting that roadmap, right? So that's a very interesting way leadership is going to go. And you don't need to be like hands-on coding and all. You may not have time because you have a large team to,
Yeah.
but you need to keep your antennas up to see what's happening in the industry. Like I get into a lot of webinars and educational classes on AI because I want to know what is this, right? Like how
Yeah.
do we incorporate that into problem solving? Not that I'm an expert and I want to be an expert, right? So you got to have that momentum and that curiosity. Every
Mm-hmm.
leader should have it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And especially for innovation, right? Like don't overdo it or underdo it, right? Like it should be done in a uh, planned approach. Be open to like figuring out exactly knowing everything that's coming in, and especially on the AI side, there's like if I think every hour I learn something, but there's something like this is also possible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Like agentic AI, and I'm like, wow, this is the next iteration of API programming that we did some time back.
yeah,
It's a very interesting, and like I said, it's a curiosity that'll make you a leader, and then the
yeah,
whole team will be curious, and they'll be
yeah.
you to do whatever you want to do.
Sure. That brings us to a very important next question I had. Like, what do you see in the next 5 to 10 years? Like, probably 10 is probably too far out for technology, but next 3 to 5 years, AI is definitely one thing. Do you see more of robotics and automations and self-driving vehicles and all of that, like making any major changes?
I think so. I think self-driving vehicle is definitely it's being tested. When I go to San Francisco, I see it all the time.
Yeah.
I think that'll come. But there is regulations and safety features. All those things also we need to look into. And financial industry is something that is not because of the regulations. It's not disrupted yet, right? So I think something is going bound to
Yeah.
happen in financial industry there. And regarding shopping, I think the experience is changing everywhere. And I think AI will play a bigger role in how people will find items and buy and get the best price. So there is
Yeah.
still a lot to do in those aspects. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then definitely Bitcoin and other things we talk about it, but everybody is worried about the regulation and other aspects of it. And if those things got figured out, there could be some innovation happens in those areas as well.
Yeah, yeah. Especially on the real estate side that I'm doing right now. I think blockchain is going to be a major factor in what can be done. Like kind of at the moment, like real estate is split up into still based on dollars and still based on transaction. It just takes too long to do a transaction. Versus I'm hoping I hope I can do some part of it with blockchain and something around that.
Yeah,
So,
I think, and another thing, logistics has a lot of opportunity, which is going to really be very innovative in the next few years because, like I said, right, a lot of small partners can connect the dots,
mhm,
and that is the way it's changing is amazing. So I think there
yeah.
will be a lot of new technologies and new ways of doing things that would come. And again, think about innovating like workflows management, automation, internal automation, those kind
Hmm.
of things has a lot of path to go. I mean, and also people are in certain pockets, people are worried about their jobs, right? There's a
Hmm.
lot of things that you can automate internally that may not need that much of human power to do it, but then that can be retrained for something else.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I keep mentioning the same thing. Like when cars and trains came up, people have not stopped walking.
Absolutely, yeah.
Probably people walk more now. So it will be a different way of doing something. The scale of what is possible changes. Like I don't think a lot of people used to do international travel. Like 40, 50 years ago, it used to be like once in a while, maybe once in 5 years, maybe somebody traveled internationally, and now it's like twice a year people travel internationally. So the
I think
scale of what is
reducing
possible,
cost. Yeah, reducing cost and price in every angle, right? Like
yeah,
making it available for common people is going to be a theme.
yeah, and that. It just makes the world a better place.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So before we like conclude, like, are there any other points that you would like to cover?
And nothing much. I think, like I mentioned, right, it's always about being curious and
Hmm.
don't be afraid to take the next step. And sometimes you will fail, but calculate how is that failure going to affect you and
Hmm.
keep moving. I think being curious in technology, um, know new things happening in the industry, that's what is going to carve your career path.
Hmm.
It's not like, I want here and then I want that and then that position. That's going to go only certain way, but always be a learner.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. So what's the best place someone can reach you?
LinkedIn, yeah, definitely shoot me
Yeah,
up. You can.
I'll include your link in the description below.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm very passionate about it because the way my background, I'm a small town girl and I wanted to push myself into technology, which is not something that was supported at that point.
Yeah.
You can be an accountant or a teacher, right? Not an engineer. And then I think still there are so many, children like me who is curious to learn and not able to break the barrier. And I want to
Yeah.
make sure that I can just at least give them a hand and pull
Yeah.
them to.
Yeah. Yeah. So anybody that's has like similar questions about career or something, feel free to reach out to Sina on LinkedIn, and it'll Sina is open to like giving her valuable time. So take it preciously. It's something very valuable. Thanks, Sina.
Much, Amish. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for coming on a busy Saturday. Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend. Bye bye.
Bye.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Main Street Minds. Want to share your journey with our audience? Head over to mainstreetmindspodcast.com/guest to apply.